This was a post put on, I think, Instagram by Dawn French. I'll just play the clip and then I'll explain what's happened.
Hmm. Complicated. No, but nuanced. But bottom line is no. Yeah, but they did a bad thing to us. I don't know. Yeah, but no. But we want that land, and we don't know, we've got history, and we've got, no. Those people, not even people, are they really? No.
She put that clip out, which to me wasn't particularly earth-shattering, and then we see this. This was a result of a lot of pressure that I suppose we saw Piers Morgan was getting the same sort of thing. This is a statement that she put out yesterday. I posted a video in the style I've been using for social media in an effort to convey an important point. I clumsily used a mocking tone. My intention was never to mock or diminish the horror of what happened on 7 October 2023 and what continues to unfold from that brutal, unthinkable, unforgivable, savage attack. My heart broke for the many innocent people and their families that were killed, tortured, raped, he's put, and kidnapped. The fact that hostages are still held is utterly appalling. My intention was to mock and point the finger of shame at the behaviour of the cruel leaders of all sides of this atrocious war, who have continued to behave like the worst, dangerous, sickening bullies and seem to relish the tyrannical and childish one-upmanship of the violence. They were my target, but clearly I failed to do that, and that's not on me. I apologise unreservedly. I'm particularly sorry that my disgust at Hamas didn't figure. It appeared one-sided, and that is wrong. I'm a person who, like many others, is feeling increasingly helpless and hopeless as we witness the carnage and destruction worsen. The images of starving and wounded children have haunted me day and night. History has taught us never to stand by and allow this kind of inhumane violence to be wrought on anyone, especially innocent children. I have felt my silence is complicit or even somehow sanctioning, and so in my small way, I wanted to voice my desire to say no to both sides, to any further violence. I hope you will understand my intention was not to offend, but clearly I have, for which I am sorry, and I have removed the video. Jackie, what do you make of the video and the apology?
Well, the first thing is the video was, it was obvious what she was trying to do, right? But it doesn't matter if it's obvious what she was trying to do, because in the dystopian kind of society that we live in, you're only allowed to support genocide. Let's be frank. If you're going to open your mouth, you can only open your mouth if you're quite happy with children being eviscerated and vaporized. If you're quite happy to see mothers going to get food for their starving children shot through the head, which is what happened, I think, yesterday, then that's fine. If you want to be like the Board of Deputies, or you want to be like that awful woman on the lawyers for Israel, you can say exactly what you want. Now, get it clear. But if you want to in any way say a criticism of Israel, it has to be presaged with how awful, how unimaginably awful the 7th of October was. You can't remember the 6th of October. You're not allowed to remember that. You have to presage everything with the fact that this horror is worth, apparently, somebody should, and I know they have done at some point, do an equation. How many Palestinian lives are worth one Israeli life? And I'm very careful not to say Jewish life, by the way, because I totally, totally object with having part of my identity linked with genocide. And it is them that is making the world a dangerous place here. And what we have is this campaign against her was led by people like effing Tracy Ann Oberman. I mean, you've just got to look at the record of Tracy Ann Oberman. The fact that the BBC, when they wrote this out, didn't say anything about about her record and what's happened with her in terms of her statements on anti-Semitism. But I do want to say one thing. Yes, you know, you can despise the fact that she's gone back on it now. You can easily do that. But I have been in some way in her position, right? I have been at the butt end of what happens when you dare not to say things like, the Jewish Holocaust is the worst disaster that the world has ever seen, ever, 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 ever. You know, I have been there. And what happened to me, right, was very similar to what's happening to Dawn now. And at the time, I had people from Jeremy's office, I had people like John McDonald asking me, pleading with me to apologize, absolutely pleading with me to apologize. And it takes, I have to tell you, it takes a lot not to. Now, she should never have apologized because they're now going to go for her anyway. She is screwed. And she's screwed now from both sides because what you never do is you never apologize when there is nothing to apologize for. And she's actually made the situation worse. She's actually made the situation worse. And the fact that as a millionaire person, she has so easily folded actually just gives credit to those of us who've lost careers, been dragged through the mire, been threatened with rape, not just of ourselves, but of those we love, of being threatened to be set on fire, because that's the kind of pressure that happens from these people. And until everybody just tells them to F off, you're buggered. And of course, Marks and Spencer's, I mean, like have a look and see who owns Marks and Spencer's and what their record is, particularly what their record is in terms of importing things from the settlements, and you'll understand what was going on. Everybody who stands against Israel and against Zionism. And another example this week, I'm coming to an end, it's okay. If any of you watched it, but do have a look at it if you haven't. There was a debate about the New York mayoral race. And when they were asked what visits they would make as soon as they became elected, if they were as mayors, all of them, except one, said Israel. Now, if you want to understand where we're going to be in just a few years' time, I always say that, have a look over there, because that's the level at which this Zionist sort of a lobby has got to. It's got its hands around everything now, and people are scared witless. They're scared witless. And those we see like Kneecap, those odd people we see standing up and speaking out at risk for their careers, at risk of being terrorized by these people. Because I promise you, what's going on behind the scenes is much more than what you see. And I also promise you, I know people who are multi millionaires who have had this pressure put on them, particularly when they're in the creative industries. And that's what silence is. So I agree, she should, if you can't stick to it, keep your mouth shut. You want to step out, then step out and stay strong. You stay strong, people will be behind you and you will survive it. And what you've got to remember is it's not us. It's not us being put through a genocide. It's other people. And this, you know, can you imagine if this was happening in the Second World War and we were all going, oh no, but we mustn't do anything that in any way questions whether there aren't both sides to this. I mean, like Hitler has a point, doesn't he? Can you imagine
Mm.
if we actually said that when this campaign was going on? You
Yeah.
know, There
Yeah,
are
the Versailles Treaty was bad for Germany. He has a point, and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
let's not just report everything from the resistance movement. Let's give Hitler a point of view to see what he's saying is happening, because that's what's going on now, and we have all got to, in whatever way we can, stand up.